The law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in house like Nakama. They are like Abiru in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. It still has another tone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history,
it's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When the Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse, weekdays on NCTV.
All right, welcome back from that short break. I have someone in the studio very special to us. I have Dr. Kenneth Okonkwo in the studio, who will help us digest this topic and do justice to what we have today. Welcome, sir. Good morning and thanks for waiting.
Good morning. It's my pleasure coming around here for the first time.
Yes, sir. All right, sir. We are looking at the topic that says democracy, and with our major focus on elections. Yes, recently you were given an appointment. I think we should start with that, right? Yeah, I hope you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, sure.
Good. You were appointed newly as a member of the APC campaign team. Now, can you just tell us a little about that?
Well, democracy, as a matter of fact, runs on 4 or 5 pillars, which is the number one is periodic, fair, free, and credible election.
Okay.
Then you have independence and impartiality of the judiciary.
Okay.
Then you have the protection of human rights.
Okay.
And you have the rule of law.
Okay.
And you have the separation of powers and checks and balances.
Okay.
Now, like I said, the paramount is the free, fair, credible, and periodic elections. So every 4 years in Nigeria, we go for elections. And we have always argued in Nigeria that our problem is that of leadership. And I've always opined that in a democracy, everybody should be in politics. Everybody should be in politics. Of course, we all cannot be in power, because whoever leads determines the line for everybody. That is why democracy is a system of government by the people, for the people, and of the people. So it should be for everybody, so that we will be able to determine collectively where we will be going to. And I have always maintained, and everybody in Nigeria has always maintained, that corruption has been the greatest problem of Nigeria. If we are blessed with all these resources and we are not getting our acts together, it's because some people are misappropriating these resources and not giving back to the society what the society demands. And so I got attracted to this great Nigerian man who, though having held very juicy positions all his life, has not been personally accused of corruption. That was my attraction to President Muhammadu Buhari.
Okay.
And that was why consistently I've insisted that if he is given the chance, especially to complete his second term, to solidify his earlier achievements, we as Nigerians will be better off for it. And I think it was with great privilege and honor that I was very happy when APC considered me qualified to be a member of the presidential campaign team.
Okay.
And the whole essence of it is that, now, if you want to know why I am passionately in love with this man, just check out his name, Buhari. That explains the whole thing about what he has to do with Nigeria. B for better Nigeria, U for the unity of Nigeria, H for the human capital development of Nigerians. A for the amicable solutions to all our problems. R for the reconstruction of our infrastructure. And I for the integrity of the whole process.
Was that a self-opined acronym?
Well, if you want to say so, as a member of the Presidential Council, you should expect that I've done a lot of research, including opining, to the things that will actually help.
Getting back to our topic of today.
Yeah.
Now, we've had elections, 1999, and we've had 2003, we have 2007, we have 2011, we have 2015, and of course, we have the big one, waiting for it. Now, before you go into that, now, are you going to say, in your own assessment, have we really enjoyed what democracy entails?
If you think you've not enjoyed it, try the alternative. At my age, I had the privilege of existing both in the military dictatorship and in the democracy.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, the worst of the democratic experience is better than the best of the military experience.
Okay.
Because at least you have your basic freedoms. I told you that one of the pillars of democracy is the protection of human rights, which is the basic freedom of people. It's not existing under military regime. When you are free, even when you're starving, you're happy because you are doing it based on your own freedom. Now, democracy is evolutionary. It is not revolutionary. And that is what people always don't understand. When you are a lawyer, as I am, and thank goodness, I think you are.
Yeah, just go ahead.
You will know that they say the wheel of justice grinds slowly, but surely. That is how democracy works. So you need a lot of patience, but you need a lot of movement. So you must continue to move. So on that platform, you will discover that we have made tremendous progress. Tremendous, appreciable progress since 1999. Within 20 years, we were able to transit from one civilian government to the other peacefully.
Yeah.
From one president to another peacefully. From one party on the national level to another peacefully.
Okay.
And so we've made tremendous progress. I don't need to tell you that the basic freedoms are protected, no matter how qualified, because we have a separate arm of government that is now independent and is now impartial, or should be impartial.
Okay.
That is doing its job. So we've made tremendous progress.
Okay.
In my own opinion.
Now, going back to part of the attributes of democracy is the freedom of political association and all that.
Yeah.
Now, Nigeria is actually on paper we are supposed to be heterogeneous. We are supposed to be practicing, heterogeneous system when it has to be a political party system.
Yes.
Now, but when you come back to Nigeria with what is obtainable, what you are looking at right now, we seem to just have two parties that are popular. All right. Now, it means any other candidate coming out from any other party that is not popular might really have a question on his ambition to contest. Yeah. Now, what do you have to say about the party system we are practicing in Nigeria? Not the one we have on paper, but with the one we are used to in Nigeria, and how it's going to affect the best candidature we are supposed to have emerging, in both presidential and governorship and in other capacities we have.
There is nothing that is happening in Nigeria that is not following the pattern of democracy worldwide. If you like, have 1,000 parties. Eventually, 2 parties will emerge to be dominant.
Okay.
It's like that in Britain. It's like that in US. It's like that in any other country. Until one other party comes up to dominate and remove one of the 2 dominant ones and become the dominant party. But in most cases, 2 parties will eventually be dominant. So we're not practicing 2-party system.
No, sure.
Good. It's a multi-party system.
In the actual show.
But over a while, 2 parties will eventually become dominant. It is natural with democracy. In America, it's not 2-party system. It's multi-party. So other parties are there to compete. But then, democracy is not about being good or bad. you also need to have structures on ground.
Okay.
Nigeria, like you said, is heterogeneous. We have 774 local governments. We have 109 senators. We have about 360 or thereabout members of the House of Representatives. You need to have structures in every ward. So it's not just about coming up in a day or 2 days. Yes, you're a good man. Yes, democracy is not just about being good. It's about numbers.
Okay.
And it takes time to build numbers.
Okay.
So that's why if we have 91 political parties and 2 parties are dominant, then strategically you must have to align or you become irrelevant.
All right. Now, in your introduction, you talked about some attributes of democracy.
Yes.
You mentioned independence of the judiciary.
Yes.
And I'm so glad you're a lawyer.
Yes.
Good. Now, would you say that the judiciary have truly been independent?
I want to tell
You
you.
say that in your own view.
Good. I want to tell you something.
I'm listening.
In a democracy, nobody gives you independence.
How do you mean by that?
You take it.
Okay.
The judiciary should be held responsible if they do not assert their independence. The government of the federation or the executive is limited by his powers in the constitution and he cannot exceed it.
Okay.
That is the beauty of democracy.
Okay.
But then you have to assert your independence. Do not wait for the other person to give it to you. Remember, the whole essence of establishing the legislature, the judiciary, the executive, is to check and balance.
Yeah, sure.
So naturally, if you acquiesce, the other person will naturally use up your powers. It's just natural. And as a matter of fact, it is even healthy, because if you are not doing what you're supposed to do, and there is no other stronger arm that can, like, shoulder that responsibility, you will see that the nation will have issues. That's why, though they are independent, they are still interdependent.
All right. Now, I'm going to ask you this question because of the recent happening, since you're talking about the judiciary.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to claim I know anything right here on set, because we have a lot of people, watching and listening. Of course, some persons still have some mixed feelings, and some persons don't have the right information to certain things that are happening, of which one of them I'm going to ask you now.
Yeah.
Now, the recent, dragging the court of the CJN, is it constitutional? Is it constitutional? Is it supposed to be?
All right. I am going to be dispassionate.
Go ahead.
And I'm going to talk as a lawyer. In criminal proceedings,
okay,
motive is irrelevant. Whether motive of the prosecutor or motive of the accused or something is irrelevant.
Okay.
So the issue of this person is from this religion, this person is from this side, or this from that, in the issue of law, they are irrelevant. What is relevant in criminal proceeding is, did you do what you are being accused of doing?
All right. Now, so it doesn't matter who's bringing it up and the motives behind the person bringing it.
Irrelevant in law.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you do what you are being accused of doing? Did you do it intentionally? Because you have to prove the actus reus and the mens reus. Now, the courts that you're being taken to, does it have jurisdiction to try you?
Okay.
These are what is important.
Okay.
And so as a lawyer, I'm sorry to say it, your status in the society, where you come from, your religion, to me, they are irrelevant. And any judge sitting on your case must be blind to those things.
Sure.
What he's faced with is the law.
All right.
And the facts of the case. So the cardinal questions are, is the CGN triable? The question is yes.
Okay.
Because he does not have
immunity
constitutional immunity.
Okay. Okay.
Now, the second question is, did he do what he's accused of doing?
Okay.
It is the court
that determines that.
Good. And so I cannot sit here and determine it.
Sure.
It is the judgment of the court that will let us know that.
Sure.
The third one is, does the court have jurisdiction
to try the matter?
Good. That is where I think the problem is. And that is where you have divergent opinions. He's been taken to the Code of Conduct Tribunal. Now, a lot of people have gone to courts, other courts, to obtain injunction that the Code of Conduct Tribunal will not sit.
Sorry, I think we have a first call. Please hold on there.
Right.
Hello? Oh, we lost it.
Right. Now, in my own opinion, with profound respect, the Code of Conduct Tribunal and the other courts appear to be courts of coordinate jurisdiction.
Okay.
And I said that because appeals from these courts go to the Court of Appeal, which means that the High Court does not have supervisory jurisdiction over the Code of Conduct, since appeal from the Code of Conduct goes to the Court of Appeal.
Yes.
So I do not think that you can run to another court of coordinate jurisdiction to get an injunction to stop another court from operating.
Okay.
I do not think so.
So is in order?
Now, no, I mean, I'm saying from what, some people have gone to courts of coordinate jurisdiction. For me, I don't think it is in order. But then, it is still the courts that will eventually decide.
Okay.
If you want to contest the jurisdiction of a court, you go to that court.
Okay.
And make a preliminary objection that the court cannot have jurisdiction because of certain issues. In the case of Nkembelem and Madukwolu, it has been stated that before a court should assume jurisdiction, the constitution of the court must be in accordance with the law. Constitution is, I mean, the members of the whether they are qualified and whether the right numbers are available to sit on the case. Secondly, whether the subject matter is within the jurisdiction of the court. And thirdly, whether all the condition precedents have been met. Then fourthly, whether it came to the court through the due process of the law. Now, it's the condition precedent that people are now saying, because in the Nganjua case, some people are saying that the NJC should be seized of the matter first to determine it before it gets to court. Now, that is where people are having divergent opinions. But the right thing to do is that the lawyers should go to the CCT.
And not High Court.
No. And bring up the issue of jurisdiction, citing the case, because every fact turns, on its own head. So, if the other defense counsel, if the prosecution can distinguish between the facts of this case and the facts in the Ngajua case, then the CCT may as well say we are assuming jurisdiction. But if they are compelled by our constitutional or our legal issue of stare decisis, you're bound by the earlier precedents. So if by the earlier precedent in Ngajua case, the CCT is curtailed from assuming jurisdiction, it is still the CCT that will say, no, we don't have jurisdiction. So
now, to just wrap it up, because you understand the language of speaking, I understand very well. Now we are looking at the common man on the street. Now the question now is, for all the English we have spoken right here. Now all the common man walking on the street is asking this question that the CGN being dragged to the court, is it in order?
Like I said, it is a legal issue. And I am restricted to the legal issues involved. So, in my own case, the question is whether it was legal or illegal. Not whether it's right or wrong. that would be political.
Okay.
That would be moralistic.
Okay, now is it legal or illegal?
Good. That's what I'm saying is for the court
To determine that. All right. I will just let that case rest until the court finishes up with their processes, and they will still let the public know what their findings are. Okay,
sir.
Sure. Now coming back to the election, of course we have to touch that because it's part of the principles of democracy.
Yes.
Now coming back to the elections proper.
Yes.
We've had elections, like I said. Nigeria have held elections like 5 times successfully.
Yes.
All right, from 1999 till date. Now, looking at the past elections we've had, and then the big one that is coming.
Yes.
All right. What do you think? Do you think there's anything we are missing? Do you think there's anything that is not being put in place to make sure that the election holds successfully comes February 16th?
Like I told you, democracy is evolutionary.
Okay.
If you expect to be perfect from the day you start, you crash.
Okay.
If you manufacture a jet that is traveling at a speed faster than the level of intelligence of the pilots, it will crash. So we've been evolving very well. And I think the National Assembly missed a great opportunity.
Okay. How do you mean?
Now, in the Electoral Act that they amended, I heard the president telling them that because of the closeness
of the election,
put the commencement date to be after the election.
Okay.
You see the evolution. The reason being that so that the electronic things that ought to be used, if they took like 4 years preparing for it, they would have perfected before the next election.
Okay.
But you and I know what we just witnessed in this studio when we came in.
Yeah.
We ought to have started by 9. But because of technical issues, it is because of the rate and stage of our development. So if you now compel INEC, mark the word, compel INEC, because once you make things legal, that means they must do it that way, or it becomes illegal. People do not even know that the president has not even tied the hands of INEC in using anything, including any electronic thing. He doesn't make the laws. But he's just saying that you cannot say these things must be done this way.
Okay.
Because we are not prepared for it because of the amenities.
Okay.
If the INEC in their own wisdom believe that they have these things, nothing stops them from using them.
All right, please hold on. Let's just pick this call. Hello? Wow, we've lost it. Sorry, please call in. And we normally start picking our calls after the break from the first one. So please just have your numbers and let us just digest the topics. And by the time you come back for the break, the lines will be so open for us to pick and the guests to attend to your calls. Thank you very much. So go on.
Good. So there is nothing, in my own opinion, that is left undone. Because we are progressing. The card reader, the INEC has said that they are going to use it.
Okay.
And then, naturally, you must have the register. Register is where the names of all the people that are eligible to vote are. So, the card reader does not contain the list of, it's not the register per se. The card reader is there to confirm the people that have come to vote.
Okay, can you pause there now?
Right.
Now, the issue of not signing the electoral bill into law and all that by the president. Now, are you saying that the Senate never sat down to think about all the processes that are supposed to go through before bringing it up for the president to sign?
No. If you saw what happened in the delay, there was even a time the National Assembly did not even include the card reader at all. It was still the president that pointed it out.
Okay.
And it was like 3 months. And the argument was that under international norms and conventions to which Nigeria is a signatory, you cannot sign an electoral act less than 6 months
to the election.
To the election.
All right.
Now, under the principle, I'm a student of international law and diplomacy. That's where I had my master's. So under the principle of pacta sunt servanda, every nation is expected in good faith to honor the agreements that it signed. The president was saying, in addition to that, and in addition to the level of our amenities, I cannot compel the INEC to follow a definite route to the election.
Okay.
They should be allowed the freedom to choose their own methods, which will be convenient for them for the election.
Okay.
The only thing is that if that route, they cannot follow it because of the inadequacies of whatever they have, they should be able to follow alternative routes, which will no longer be illegal.
Okay.
But would have been illegal if they had been compelled by law to follow a specific route. Just like we are here now. What would have started by 9, we're starting by almost 11. If it had been the law that this program must take place between 9 to 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Anything outside 10 a.m. is illegal.
Yeah.
But if it is not the law, you have the freedom checking the circumstances you're dealing with. You just made a decision that no, we now have to shift this program between in 9 and 11. It couldn't hold. We are shifting it to 11 to 12.
It runs to 12.
That is all the flexibility the president gave to Electoral Act, like to INEC, because they're independent in choosing their procedure. Recall that National Assembly wanted to even impose the sequence of election on INEC, and INEC and Nigerians, some Nigerians, still said no, it's not constitutional, and the court say yes, the INEC has the freedom to choose their sequence in line with what the president agreed to do. So these are all forces of democracy playing out, and they are working for our own good. So I do not think there is anything that is left undone.
Okay, we'll be going for a short break. By the time we come back, we'll open our lines and we'll start picking your calls. But when we come back, we'll be dealing directly with the readiness of INEC and, of course, the whole Nigerians, for the forthcoming election. We have roughly 31 days or less than that to go to the election or to go to the polling unit. So we'll be looking at all that when we come back from the break. Please stay with us. Welcome to National Discourse.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in house like Nakama. They are like Agbero in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. It still has another tone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history,
it's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse. Weekdays on NCTV.
Welcome to National Discourse.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in house like Nakama. They are like Agbero in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. it still has another tone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history,
It's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse, weekday.
All right, welcome back from that short break. I still have Dr. Kenneth Okonkwo with me in the studio, and we are doing justice to this topic. We have opened our lines. You can keep calling now. He'll be able to pick up and then do justice to the questions you have, for him. All right, sir. Can you just help us with a sharp comparison between what we had before? Like we're talking about the electoral process now. Let's start with the voting process, the card reading process, and all the registration. What we had or what it used to be like in 2003 to what we have presently.
Well, I think there has been a quantum leap. In 2003, with profound respect, and 2007, we did not actually have genuine elections in Nigeria.
How do you mean by that?
We just had a selection, because it was in those days that we had people like Michael Jackson, being in our election register, yeah. So, and then there was no card reader.
Are you saying such things are not happening now?
It's very difficult.
Okay.
With the advent of, the card reader.
Okay.
It's very difficult because your card has to be verified.
Okay.
Then you have to be verified.
Okay.
Your thumbprint has to be verified before you go to vote during the accreditation process. So why put Michael Jackson there if there is no Michael Jackson around that will come on the election day?
So are you saying the process we have now is devoid of any electoral malpractice?
You cannot remove malpractice 100% from
the system.
Anything that has to do with human beings. Even the accusation of malpractice still goes on, even in the US. That's why you have recounts. That's why you have probes going on now. Whether there was Russia interference in US elections, these are all geared towards ensuring that there were no malpractices, or if there were any, for solutions to be found before the next election. So there is no foolproof to it. What we're saying is, are the malpractices substantial enough to affect the outcome of the elections? This is the question.
Okay.
So if they are, the election is null and void. If they are not, the election will still reflect the will of the people, and people can proceed from there. So 2003, 2007, it was a sham. Why? It was obvious people were writing results. I know in one state where they wrote a result that was higher than the total number of people that were in the register.
Okay.
People were scoring 2-point-something million to win a gubernatorial election. In that same state today,
less than that.
People struggle to score 250,000 to win the gubernatorial election.
Okay.
And I remember in one case where, when they saw that the figure they wrote is more than the whole bloated people in the register, they went back and changed it and said, sorry, we didn't mean 2,900,000 and something. We meant 2,090,000. And it was still allowed. So it was really funny.
Okay.
But you see, that's the beauty of democracy. If we had truncated democracy based on those reasons, we wouldn't have evolved.
Okay.
But Nigerians, we are patient. And that's the beauty of the federal character. Because people have already made up their mind that Nigerians have acquiesced that it should come from one side. People did not feel so redoubt, because they've already made up their mind that this zone is going to produce it. That's a part of evolution. So they were able to endure. And then with that patience, we now started graduating in our electoral process. And it's becoming neater. I think from 2011, we must have to accept some sense started coming into our electoral system. And when I want to make this comparison, I want to face the Southwest. Why? Because the president of the country then, 2003, 2007, that supervised the election is from the Southwest.
Okay.
And then 2011. So what was his performance in 2003, 2007, 2011? Because it was still the same party that was in power. If you checked in 2003, okay, let me start from 1999. Because it's still the same president that was the beneficiary of the election.
Okay.
If you check in 1999, you discover that President Obasanjo, for instance, did not win his ward. So AD cleared the whole of Southwest. Then in 2003, PDP magically or miraculously won 5 states in Southwest. Magically or miraculously. Now, in 2007, they repeated almost the same feat. In 2011, when the President Obasanjo did not have the absolute power again as president, he lost again and went back to almost 1999 standard. So you could see that there was an evolution. And then in 2015, you could see with the introduction of the card reader, you could see that an opposition party for the first time in Nigerian history won on the national level.
All right. I just want to give you that now.
Right.
Now, let's fast forward. Okay. Oh, the calls are just coming and cutting. Now let's fast forward to 2015. Now, the election that took place in 2015 and the election we are expecting, are you spotting any difference already? Let's pick this call. Sorry. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Your name is where you're calling from, please.
Yes, my name is from around town.
Okay, go ahead.
I just tuned in now. Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening to you.
The network is a bit breaking.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay, let me call back. I'm not hearing very well.
I'm hearing you very clear. Wow, we've been having a lot of network challenge. Okay, so go ahead.
Right. I thought we
were talking about 2015 election,
yes,
and what we're expecting, this year,
now,
February.
If you check the template, because it's still the same electoral act that is going to be used, since there was no reasonable amendment eventually. So the template is still going to be the same. But people are now more enlightened. INEC is now more prepared. There is a president that is less interested in interfering with whatever INEC wants to do.
Okay.
And it's obvious. Certain things are really very, very funny.
Okay.
I always watch people and see the argument about Zakari Mohammed.
Okay.
Is it Zakari Ahmed or Zakari Mohammed? The lady.
Okay. That's supposed to be the president's
right. So
relative.
When I hear PDP make such comments, I get worried. This is their appointee, not the appointee of this government.
But hold on. Now, when you have your relative in certain positions, by the way, we are still going to look at the appointments that we've had, so far, and those that have come shortly, whether it's going to in any way affect the elections that are coming up. Now, before then, when you have relatives of someone that is supposed to be in power or is in power already, don't you think those things people are saying is out of normalcy? Like, okay, this is the relative, so definitely there must be some things done to favor their own person. Don't you think so?
Now, there has not been any proved blood relationship, as has been stated. And nobody has doubted it. So there's no blood relationship. Now, assuming but not considering, President Muhammad Buhari contested 2015 election. PDP supervised it. PDP appointed this lady. She was approved by a National Assembly dominated by PDP. She worked with President Obasanjo, came out with flying colors. She worked with President Goodluck Jonathan before she was appointed into this. And President Muhammad Buhari have been contesting from 2003 Now, you appointed her, PDP, knowing that President Muhammad Buhari was a party to the election. And you are now raising an alarm that she will be biased. On what basis?
Okay, so you're saying there is actually no cause for alarm because they appointed her.
You appointed her. You should take responsibility for whatever that you are saying that is not in order, because every other factor that is in 2019 was there when you appointed her. So, on what basis? You cannot approbate and reprobate at the same time.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm actually like, please come and tell me your reasons. If she did not do this, if you didn't consider that she would do this when you appointed her, what chance does she have to do it now?
Okay. Now, having said that, now let's look at the appointments we have. And recently the IGP retired, and someone was replaced. Someone have taken his position. And if you look at this appointment, a lot of people are coming up to say is lopsided. They've been shouting from the beginning that all the appointments of this administration, they are lopsided. They're just coming from one side and all that. And then you once talked about the character principle of character, and all that. So bringing that down now, the appointments we have that surrounds President Muhammadu Buhari, do you think, without sentiment, now I want you to speak to me as a lawyer, not as a part of a political party and all that. Now, do you think, or don't you think it's going to have an effect on the electoral process and, of course, through the election results?
When you check, when it comes to electoral process,
okay,
INEC is the commission empowered by law to carry it out.
Okay.
They are independent.
Okay.
Good. And from day one, the Constitution made it clear as to the process of their appointment.
Does the INEC chairman, does the president have the right to, take out the INEC chairman or to replace the INEC chairman? Is there any process on that? Because this is a confusion most people are having.
Every process is constitutional.
Okay.
He cannot do it without the approval of the Senate.
Okay.
Good. And the Constitution, clothes them with the power of independence.
Okay.
Good. Now, there is nothing in the INEC appointment that is not following the same pattern as the predecessors. Jega was the INEC chairman, appointed by Goodluck Jonathan.
Okay.
Jega is from the north.
Okay.
Mahmoud is from the north.
Okay.
So every state has its own representative in the INEC commission.
Okay. The question exactly is,
good.
Why wouldn't you have had someone, from a different region, other than the north, when we have a northern president? Do you understand the question? Now, Goodluck Jonathan was from the south, all right? And then he appointed an INEC chairman from the north.
Okay.
Now, we have a northern president. Of course, already coming up from a region. Was there any need, or what do you think was the reason, or wouldn't you have had another person coming out from another region? I'm talking about the INEC chairman, other than the region that he came out from.
All right. Now, let's look at history and precedents and facts.
Okay.
1999, Justice Akpata was appointed INEC chairman. He's from the south.
Okay.
The two presidential candidates are from the south.
Okay.
Obasanjo Falaye. Obasanjo came in, appointed Ebel Gubadia from the south. After Ebel Gubadia, Professor Yu from the south. Obasanjo. South and southeast. So, what are we saying?
Is Obasanjo from the south?
Who?
Obasanjo, is it from the south?
Yes.
Okay.
Southwest.
Okay. Is that the inclusion I'm looking for?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, it is not anything whatsoever.
So there is no particular order it should follow.
I said
it's not
Obasanjo,
stereotyped.
the two INEC chairmen he appointed.
There's like no need for noise making from any quarter.
From 1999, Ephraim Akpata, Justice Ephraim Akpata, South. Ebel Gobadia, South. Professor Yu, Southeast. The next person, Jega, North, appointed by Goodluck Jonathan. President Muhammad Buhari appointed Mahmoud, North.
All right.
3 southern chairman.
All right.
Supervised about 3 elections.
All right.
Then 2 northern chairmen.
Okay.
So when we say things, let's talk with facts.
Okay. Can we look at the security chiefs?
Now,
and of course, they just replaced
okay,
IGP.
I'm going to ask you, and I'm just going to pick the head of all the security agencies, the major heads, and I'll ask you a carry-down question. Before Jonathan left office, his Inspector General of Police was from the Northwest. His Chief of Defense Staff, because Chief of Defense Staff is the chief of all the armed forces, is from the Northeast. His National Security Advisor is from the Northwest. His Minister of Defense is from Northwest. President Goodluck Jonathan.
And he's from?
He's from South.
Okay.
Good. Now, President Muhammad Buhari came in. He's the Inspector of General Police that he inherited from South.
Okay.
Good. And was changed with North Central.
Okay.
Good. I just called in Goodluck Jonathan. This post I'm going to tell you is 3 of them is from one geopolitical zone.
Okay.
And the other one from another geopolitical zone.
But don't you think there's a difference?
No.
It makes a lot of difference because he is from a different zone.
Zone
or region.
No, he still offended the federal character. That's the word.
Okay, that is the angle you're coming from.
Yes.
All right.
Now, President Muhammad Buhari, he's IG of police, North Central.
Okay.
From South, North Central. He's National Security Advisor, Northeast. He's IG, he's Chief of Defense, Staff, Southwest, Ekiti. Then he's Minister of Defense, Northwest. 4 geopolitical zones represented.
Okay.
Just look at it.
So what do we have right now?
That's what we have now. That's what I just told you.
We still have the same thing?
Yes, so that is what we have now.
Okay.
Compared with what we had with Goodluck Jonathan when he was, as in the last set of things he had. So who has, from what I just explained to you, who has honored federal character more? Let me take it again.
No.
Good.
I listened to you very well.
Very good. Who has honored federal character more than the other?
Okay, now you know law is not who actually is close to being right.
Good.
Law is all about doing what is right.
Good. So I just want you to know that most of these things are just sentimental. Now let's talk about the main. If you talk about the ministries, when you come in as a president, if you're talking about security apparatus, if you're strategic, you will know that if you come from a heterogeneous society, you are going to look at the section that have more security challenges and get your chiefs from that sector.
Without offending the federal character.
Without, yes, offending the federal character. So that people will not impute any ulterior motive when they carry out their job. When Jirika was the chief of army staff, he tackled Boko Haram so effectively that Nigeria did not lose even one local government. But you know what? They say he was committing genocide. Till now, some people are saying he will be tried in the ICC. But Buratai came in and did even a better job. Took the fight even to Sambisa and wiped out the terrorists. And nobody is talking about taking him to ICC. You know why? Because he's from Borno State. And you cannot tell me he will cry more than the bereaved. You cannot tell me he will go and deal wrongly with his people. So if you are brilliant as a CNC, you should factor these things into consideration. The president did not even choose the core people from his own side, which is Northwest, for the avoidance of doubt. Northwest is to Northeast, what Southwest is to Southeast. So they are not identical. If you check the tribe, check the people, you see that there are differences. So the president now did his federal character. There's what you call intra-sector and inter-sector.
Okay.
He bequeathed the economy completely to the south and made sure that it's north, because of past experience, that in those areas that we had challenges in the security apparatus, that he chose people who are familiar with the terrain and who will do something without people thinking they had ulterior motive.
All right, I'm going to ask you now from the explanations you gave.
Go ahead.
You talked about Buratai, moving to Sambisa Forest and then taking the Boko Haram. Now, my question, in honesty is, are we done with the fight with Boko Haram?
When George Bush encountered the terrorist attack at the World Trade Center, he said something that was instructive. He said this fight against terrorists will be long, it will be hard, it will be costly.
Okay.
Good. Fighting terrorists, especially when they're your citizens, is not the same thing with fighting an international war.
Okay.
Because you're still going to protect the rights of your own citizens. You can see some of these, I'm sorry to say, ill-fated international organizations breathing down on our security forces, even when they do a good job, because they are talking about protecting fundamental human rights.
Okay.
Because they are also your citizens.
Okay.
If you come from that angle, we have done creditably well.
But can we say we have fought this battle? Can you just give us a rating from this administration? The fight
80%.
80%.
Yes, and let me tell you one thing. Before President Buhari came into power, the terrorists have taken over the nation, including this capital, Abuja. And I'll give you an instance. The police headquarters was bombed. Police headquarters. United Nations headquarters was bombed. And this made United Nations to leave Nigeria. Nigeria was bombed. 88 persons were shredded. Banex Plaza was bombed. I'm talking about Abuja.
Yeah, I'm listening.
To tell you that Abuja has been taken over. The cell has matured and is built. For the first time in the history of Nigeria, Christians were denied their right to go for night vigils because of security situation. When President Muhammadu Buhari came in, I am glad to announce to you that Abuja has not come under major attack. United Nations has come back.
Okay, so this falls under his major achievements.
So I'm just trying to tell you, when people talk about security not improving or something, let me give them the instance that Nigeria as a whole has been overtaken by terrorism. Cells have been built in Lagos, cells have been built in Enugu. They are already moving using the forest highways. They have taken over this nation. So they sprout out at every angle. Now, they have been restricted to border areas where they now engage in criminal activities. They are no longer an insurgent group per se, from the definition of insurgency. They are now a band of criminal groups that hit and run like any other criminal group.
But they are still coming out to take responsibility for
that's what I'm saying.
That
they are now operating
in the name of Boko Haram.
Yes. They are now operating criminal acts, just like some armed robbers will go attack a bank. You heard of a robbery?
Yeah.
These are the kind of things they do, which is not restricted to them. That's why I say they now engage in criminal acts.
Okay.
Attack a city, loot it, then run away.
All right. Now the stage they are in right now.
Before Buhari came in, 16 local governments were under their control, foisting their flag. That means they have assumed territory. They have become an insurgent group. It has become a civil war.
Okay.
But Buhari has come in now. There is no more civil war in Nigeria.
All right.
You have a band of people who engage in criminal activities, attack soft targets, hit and run, which is not restricted to Boko Haram. It's restricted to all other criminal bands.
You are saying their activities have changed, but the name have not changed.
No, they won't change their name. If they change their name, that fear they inflict on people that they are around. It's just like when you have built goodwill. If a village hears that Boko Haram is coming, they will be more susceptible to fear than they hear that a kidnapper is around. So they won't change that.
All right. Now, with the state we are in,
but they have been degraded.
All right.
And
but not totally dismantled.
No. I quoted George Bush first.
Okay. And then you give it 80%.
Yes, sure, because it's now restricted to northeast, those border towns where they can hit Nigeria and run back to the other country.
Okay.
Yeah,
now with the level of our security right now, if you remember, we are still talking about elections.
Yes.
Now, how can we have our elections successfully? We've been touching on so many points,
Yes.
surrounding the election. Now, talking about security, aside the Boko Haram, let's not generalize the whole security situation in Nigeria right now.
Right.
Do you think it will have an effect on the elections that are coming up?
Security.
From 16th of February, yes. Are we safe enough? Are we safe enough to have elections done successfully?
All right. I'm not gone.
Sure.
But I can tell you that so far in Nigeria, this has been the first election that has carried no tension. By 2015, by now, everybody was considering leaving where you are to run back to your base because you're not sure of the result.
Okay.
But today, everybody is going about.
Why was that?
Because
Do you think it
the
was because
apprehension of security is no longer bad now as it used to be then.
Okay.
It was as if everybody was going to die.
Okay.
Boko Haram was occupying 16 local governments. They called that the election had to be shifted for 6 weeks because of security concern.
Can we just take this call? I pray it's successful. Hello, good morning. Good morning to you.
Mohammed calling from Mina.
Mohammed from Mina. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was just opportunity to turn to this conversation with the doctor. Really, what doctor is saying is really true. Because, some people, most of us in Nigeria here, we are too sentimental, to be sincere. We don't normally give credit to those that deserve
it. Is due.
Because we are too sentimental. That is our thing. And then the main problem of this country is tribal and religious differences.
Okay.
When somebody maybe from southwest or southeast do something good, you see a northerner will start to condemn that particular person because it's not from the north or it's not a Muslim. Likewise, when somebody from north do something good, somebody from east or from south start condemning that particular person because of his bad mistake. Because what I'm now trying to let you know is that here in Mina, I could remember during Jonathan era, you see that really exactly one want to go to mosques. I thought Almighty God, the moment they see you with just a small ladder bag with either tomato inside, you see them just chasing you out because they'll be suspecting you are having explosion or anything you want to take it.
Okay.
Now, see how everybody now is moving freely without any fear.
Okay. From your own assessment, security-wise, we are balanced to go for the election.
Okay. Now, this election really to sincere, there are many things which many people are saying. It's just an exaggeration to sincere. It's just an exaggeration. Because all this army bandit and all those things is created by politicians. I'm not a politician to sincere. I'm a civil servant. Because many of these things, because even yesterday, somebody was telling that he was kidnapped and all those, because some people are just using that particular issue. If I should tell you, during the last administration, the president and governor of Niger State, I could remember, Niger State was a peaceful thing. The commissioner of police that was transferred to this Mina, he's a female from south. So there was no security threat in Mina. But the governor tried to put fear on people that Boko Haram is coming independently. What they are threatening is that security vote. Because if there is any problem with this, because government will just be sending money to them so that they will not be capitalizing and getting money. There was no any security threat.
Okay, please, could you just try to round up because of our time?
Okay, so please, I just want you please to enlighten people. Please, we shouldn't be sentimental. Even if you are with PDP, APC, or any party, when you see who try and just move it. Because now, even the PDP they are just looking for a way to not stabilize the election. It's their own plan. What brought issue of CJ into this politics? What brought the issue of anti? Politics is a different issue. Security issue is a different issue. But all the politicians will concentrate on their own on their politics. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We hope you're safe there, right there in Mina. Thanks for calling in. Yeah, thank you very much. All right. Still, the caller was is actually backing what you're saying, which is his opinion. And of course, you are still entitled to your opinion.
Yes,
to the fact that, and I think this should be a wake-up call to Nigerians. Yes. To the fact that we should leave politics aside and, apart from giving honor to whom is due, which is his opinion and your opinion, yes. Work together and remove ethnicity and religious sentiment.
Absolutely.
To make sure that Nigeria is up and running, and of course the election is successful, because we're still talking about how we can have the elections done successfully without Nigeria splitting. Now, before this call came, you were telling us on how safe or how partially unsafe or unsafe we were before, but now everywhere is calm, which means there is no panic, nobody's trying to travel and all that. Now, the question I want to ask is, before the elections, after the elections and all that, now do you think Nigeria, or what makes you think that Nigeria is still in a safe mood that it is now after the 2015 election?
Well, because there are no dramatic things that have affected, people's lives and property outside those areas that are in the bordering town. If you talk about Zamfara, if you talk about these, you see that they are all in the border areas. Where some of these hoodlums come from the next country, some of them purely for economic reasons, attack and go back. And then, if you recall, before President Buhari came in Aba, every rich known person fled from Aba. See that you're kidnapped, killed, or you are robbed. We know in our law, in our unity bar, for instance, all the known lawyers from Aba rushed to Abuja. And you can confirm, today, Aba is flourishing. It's becoming an industrial hub. Why? Security. Kidnappers no longer live in multi-billion houses. That was where they were living before President Buhari came in. They are now smoked out and they are living in prisons. So what we are doing is that the security has dramatically improved. Do you know, in the southwest, before Buhari came in, the Badu court was in charge. In the southeast, kidnappers, Osisi Kanku, this and that, were in charge. Militants were in charge in south-south. Boko Haram in the northeast. Elements of Zamfara and all those ones in the northwest. The north-central angle by bandits. Today, they are shrinking and they will soon be smoked out. And in the process of election, you can see that INEC is tightening up all the loose ends. Look at before they came in, Buhari came in, INEC was doing accreditation differently from voting. And that made a lot of people not to vote. Some of the elderly, some of the feeble, when they wait from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., without things being sold around, because, movement is curtailed during election, they always go and they don't come back to vote. Today, accreditation and voting is done simultaneously. And that has made it that we have now approximated most times all the people that were accredited voted. If you check from the pilot thing that started in Bayelsa, that is an evolution. I wonder why some people are, rising up against this system. You know why? They don't know the history of while people do accreditation and wait before they vote. I happen to have the privilege of being a youth corper. I think we may be the first youth corpers that supervised election. I wouldn't know. In Bendel State. That was when they were operating the open ballot system. That was the reason why people finished to conclude the accreditation before voting. Because in open ballot system, you vote once. Everybody votes once. So there's no way you can be accrediting and be voting
at the same time,
because you have to line up behind the poster of your preferred candidate. But in secret balloting, people vote one after the other. So there is no reason why they should all wait to finish accreditation. And that thing they are trying to run away from is actually exacerbated in the issue of finishing the accreditation. I was a polling unit agent in 2015. I discovered that when people come after the time has ended for accreditation, they will still insist that they will vote. And they will cause trouble if you don't give them the opportunity. But it doesn't happen with simultaneous accreditation and voting. Once the time is ended, the time is ended because voting has also stopped. But so it creates more room for violence when you say that people will complete accreditation before voting. But if it is simultaneous, it doesn't create room for any violence. You vote and you have the right to stay or not to stay. In accreditation being completed before voting, you must stay. So, all in all, you discover that INEC is actually improving and progressing.
Which is still part of our systematic improvement.
Absolutely.
From democracy, evolution. You use the word evolution. Okay, time democracy is no longer our friend. I would have loved to continue, but I'm sure we're going to bring you back here because the major thing we want to talk about. We want to look at the candidates that are coming up for presidential elections. But it won't be today. We'll have to bring you another day when we don't have technical hitches here and there, so that our program will start and end when it's supposed to start. Start and end. So we'll bring you to talk about the candidates and the reason why people have their preferred choices and the reason you are picking who you're picking. You just mentioned the few reasons. So thank you very much for coming to the studio. Thank you very much. Thank you to our viewers for listening and watching. And of course, for some of us that we could not pick a calls today, we are very sorry. For next program, we'll open our call lines very early. I will be able to take your calls and of course your contributions. Thanks for those that called and for the messages I got and I couldn't read out. I'm so sorry. You will post what we have on our social media handles. Thank you very much and God bless. I remain your host, Uche Uduma. I'm just signing out.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to National Discourse.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in house like Nakama. They are like Abiru in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. It still has another tone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history.
It's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse. Weekdays on NCTV.